Okay, so the question is, could we transfer that approach to solve other problems that we have in cities and societies? And one of the biggest problems is actually sustainability, actually lack of sustainability, or in other words, waste of resources. So in fact, 50 tons of waste is produced basically by every one of us in a lifetime. Shame on us, right? It's the result of today's organization of our economy. We have supply chains that are basically using fresh resources and are manufacturing goods in large numbers to reach economies of scale, sell those products cheaply, push it on us using a lot of advertisement, and then we would buy it and use it a bit, and then it would be thrown away. And of course, that's not sustainable. That cannot stay like this, and we need to reuse and recycle materials, because otherwise we will really be in huge trouble. And the problem, however, is how do you get that circular economy, right? If your politician says you want to have it, it doesn't necessarily happen. They tried it by laws and regulations. That was not very effective. Now we propose a different approach based on empowerment, and that's can be now implemented with the Internet of Things, right? Now, it's cheap to produce sensors, millions, billions of them actually. And with this, we can measure the situation locally and create feedbacks, which basically allow the system to self-organize. And such an approach can actually be taken to improve production. We've published a paper on self-organized production using an agent-based approach, and also modern smart grids are sometimes using a decentralized approach to match supply and demand and incentivize energy use at certain times and not at others. And there's a PhD thesis by one of my team members recently, Farsam Farnitabazi. But let me go back to the sustainability problem, right? So imagine we would use the sensors, even those perhaps that are in our smartphones, if we wish to connect those sensors to build a sensor network. We've been working on one for some time, which would basically measure noise, CO2, emissions of all kinds, bad and good things. In other words, externalities of what we do and what companies do, externalities on other people and on nature. We would measure this and we would feed it back by an incentive system that would try to reduce negative externalities and improve positive ones and ensure fair compensation. And we would do so with a multidimensional money and reward and incentive system, okay? Multidimensional, just not calculate all the externalities in terms of dollars, but have a CO2 currency, a noise currency, a plastic currency, a steel currency, whatever, you know, it's many different currencies that can be used for multiple different separate feedback loops, and combine basically measurements with the Internet of Things with a money generation system. Could be a blockchain-based one, but doesn't have to. Certainly, we wanted a sustainable approach here, and introduce those new incentives into the market to create new forces in the economy that would basically encourage little improvements, little by little. Everyone would make some improvements, and so the system would co-evolve eventually towards a circular economy and sharing economy based on the principles of evolution in principle, right? And a multidimensional approach, again, is a paradigm change. It's an approach that is made to allow to manage complex systems and even to build self-organizing, self-regulating complex systems. So the role model, in a sense, is an ecosystem such as a forest, say, where there's a lot of symbiosis. Or also take our body now. A lot of the processes in our body are not controlled by the brain. It's not centrally controlled, but a lot of it is actually based on self-organization. Self-organization is not happening based on one feedback loop, one quantity that controls it all, like dollar would do it in our economy. Say water would be the equivalent when it comes to our body, but there are actually many feedback cycles, right? Our carbohydrates, proteins, vitamins, minerals, and all of that are different feedback cycles. And this is important for the self-organization in those complex systems to work. And it's so amazing that we still don't understand the body and brain in detail until today, right? So self-organization is an extremely powerful principle. Nature has already solved the circular economy problem. It's basically reusing all the resources. And why shouldn't we learn from this? And so therefore we have proposed this multi-dimensional money incentive feedback and coordination system that would allow for a better coordination of complex systems. And yes, with this approach, we would not just try to find an optimal solution within the constraints of today's system, but we would extend the solution space of the system and turn we would turn win-lose situations into win-win situations, basically.